Good evening, Mr. Jackson. So, we heard about your railroad shutting down. Why is this the cause? Because I broke so many laws that let people do what they want. I keep losing money. The tracks are imperfect. The crossings are horrible. The trains keeps crashing. One of the trains keep going on fire, having mechanical issues, and all that stuff. Okay, let me see from this paper right here. The FRA sent you, this particular file about the reasons of why they want to shut down the railroad. They actually show pictures of what they saw and what was wrong. So we found this first picture of a train derailed, crashing into a truck and nearly crashing into a nearby church, which is in service around that time. And the second picture is 4603, right? Yeah. On fire. And the third picture is somebody putting a picture of what is this? I don't know what this is, but this is a cartoon. I don't know what is it doing. It's like crying stuff. I don't know what's going on in this picture. But they printed it so big, they placed it in one of the freight cars and played it as a somewhat prank. And it's also destruction of property. So, front row, what do you got to say about this? Look, we want to shut it down. We want to keep the town safe from any potential danger. Like, what if a train crashes into a truck that is filled with fuel and it blows up, train derails, crash into houses and all that stuff? We need to keep the railroad safe from any disasters. And the towns too. So that's why we came into conclusion to talk about this. This whole thing, everything, we need to shut the whole thing down for the good of this town. Okay, and for third row, Department of Transportation, what do you say about this situation? We actually agree on the FRA. I mean, this is ridiculous. Jackson, you're supposed to keep your railroad safe from any dangers. You need to keep it safe and all that stuff. But you just broke the law. You broke the law. You're supposed to keep your railroad safe, well maintained, and have the right equipment for these locomotives. If one of them starts breaking down, send them to a mechanical and have some older locomotives. From what we saw, is some old wore-down locomotives, ownership losses, as from the Tabletown Railroad Safety Campaign you guys partnered with, shut down because of finances. So that's why we have to shut this whole thing down, because it broke many laws. Okay, now, let me see. Second round, Jackson, what do you got to say? Look, I know it isn't my fault. I try to maintain the railroad property. You got let me tell you something, Jackson. You got so many people that they can help you with money. And I don't know how I say things like this. I don't know what is going on. But you ruined it for yourself. And now your railroad is shutting down because of these things that the FRA and Department of Transportation saw. And what they investigated. So, by tomorrow afternoon, or the morning if it depends, we're going to agree if we should keep the railroad or shut the railroad down. Because if we shut it down, we have to keep the line for sale, keep the tracks for sale, because there's some customers that are serving the rails, so we can't just tear it apart. But you lost the railroad, and the tracks, the locomotives are going to be up for sale. And there's already one railroad that is interested of buying your locomotive, which is 1502. It's called the New Millennium Railway is interested of buying 1502 if the railroad shuts down. So, what do you gotta say? I'm gonna try it the best as I can to keep the railroad open. I'm sorry, but it's already too late. You should have done that earlier, came here earlier, fixed the whole problem, but you came in a little too late. So we have no choice but to shut it down. So there's going to be votes tomorrow morning, see if it can keep the railroad. If not, you have to shut it down and you're no longer owning it. And there's going to be another railroad that is going to be owning it. Alright. So, by the raise of hands, by the show of hands, who wants to keep the railroad? Okay, there's only 3 people. Or a few. Okay, I see more. 5, 6. Okay, 9 people want to keep the railroad. And want the railroad to here. And by the show of hands, who wants to get rid of the railroad? Sorry, my language, I'm sorry. Who wants to keep the railroad? Well, I'm sorry. I don't know, I'm lost for thoughts. You want me to say it for you, ma'am? Or sir? Yes, and don't call me ma'am. Okay. By the show of hands, who does not want to keep the railroad? Raise your hand. Okay. Only 15 people raised their hand only 15 people have raised their hand for the railroad to be gone because of this potential damage. So, Jackson, we decided that we're not going to do this court conference tomorrow. We got to do what we got to do. We have to shut down the railroad. Judge, listen, I don't want to hear it. You broke the law, and we're shutting down this railroad. Understood? Understood. But is there any chance if I can go to court tomorrow and explain more, I'll get more? No, we're done. You broke the law. The accidents have killed some people. A church is nearby, and that train derailment that happened about a month ago nearly killed them. It was service time. It was around Sunday. I'm sorry, but we have to shut it down by tomorrow. So tomorrow is your last day with the railroad, and then by afternoon, you're shutting it down, and we're shutting it down. Case is dismissed, everyone. Thank you for joining this court. I know it's a bit short than it was on the schedule, but I'll see y'all tomorrow for any updates. Wait, I thought you said we weren't going to do any court tomorrow. Well, I've changed my mind and see what we can do about it. By tomorrow morning, I'll